views expressed on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Recovery Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this episode should not be taken as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. KHLT and Take 12 Recovery Radio are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. Well, greetings, my friends. I am the Monty Man from Take 12 Recovery Radio, and this is the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. And now, here are your Came to Believe Recovery podcasting broadcasters to launch us forth on this week's show.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Came to Believe Recovery podcast. I am Alicia, joined with Tom and Monty on this New Year's Eve 2024. Hi, guys.
Hi, guys. I think I've been gone for 2 weeks, right?
I know. I've been gone for one.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do I say again in the beginning?
Now, when the listeners watch this or listen to it, it'll actually be New Year's Day.
Oh, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah, right? Right?
Yeah.
We should have just started that way. Happy New Year.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, check this out. You ready? Ready? I got these for Christmas.
Christmas gnomes.
They're gingerbread gnomes. Little Mr. and Mrs. Gingerbread gnomes.
Tom's face just goes.
Poor Tom. He's like, it's just, yeah, he's lost it. Yeah, just, it's okay. Put him in a corner somewhere. He'll be all right. Oh my God. I don't know. I just don't know.
But first, it's time for the Came to Believe Recovery Icebreaker.
It's that time of the show where we ask the question, what does Alicia's shirt say?
I wonder.
It says.
What is it this episode?
Can you see
Team Meat. What's it say underneath?
Healing folks one ribeye at a time.
One ribeye at a time. You know, I wish I liked ribeye. I don't like a lot of fat in my meat. I know there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm a texture person.
Me too.
And ribeye's got a lot of marbling.
I don't like ribeye.
I like ribeye.
You like ribeye?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Figures.
I like flank and ground beef. Those are my favorite.
Ribeye.
Yeah. So, it's no surprise that New Year's Day would actually be besides being New Year's Day, a registered holiday, that it is also National Hangover Day.
Oh, boy.
That
makes sense.
I was wondering, what it would be, and I looked it up, and sure enough, that's it. Kind of. Hey, did you hear that? Supposedly, because I'm talking as if this is New Year's Day. So last night, supposedly, right, Tom, you probably heard this. They were not going to permit anybody in Times Square to have alcohol on their person or to be under the influence. And I thought, how are they going to do that? Did you hear that?
I didn't hear that because I don't listen to much, but I just spoke with one of our consultants, Sean O'Hare, who said they've got it all locked down already. Entire Times Square is closed.
Drones and everything are.
Yeah, they got it closed.
Yeah.
He said you can't. They're not letting. It's completely closed down.
Wow.
So, they'll let.
Don't they let people in for the ball drop thing?
At a certain time, they start letting you in through certain gates, but you're going through metal detectors, and it's a thing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, it's a nightmare. I mean, I wouldn't. And it's going to rain tonight. Well, it rained last night.
That would be my worst nightmare.
It rained last night.
We'll talk about it.
We're in a time warp here.
We're in a time warp, but
yeah.
So
hey, so I want to let everybody know that next week I'm putting together a collection of some pretty awesome faith-based recovery music for the Came to Believe Recovery podcast, because I'm going to be gone, so I'm putting it together this week, and I'm going to be celebrating my wife's birthday. So the show will be kind of a special broadcast, so be looking forward to it. You guys are definitely going to want to download it or upload it and burn copies of it and all that. It's some of the best recovery recording artists that I've ever known. So we're going to be sharing that stuff. So there you go. There, yeah. So okay. So, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah. Well, we've got pretty big news that since the last time we were here, we have. Finalized the deal with the Western Territory of the Salvation Army. So we will be bringing the entire program of Came to Believe within the entire territory. They will be adopting it territory-wide, and we will be conducting 9 retreats, really 10 with San Bernardino, but 10 retreats in 2025 to complete each rehab center. Basically, we're combining a couple, but every rehab center will get a retreat, and then we'll be, training them up on recovery assurance and giving them the videos and everything. So it's a big deal.
It's huge.
We're going to be busy next year, right? And also, we're teaming up for fundraising. The Salvation Army is going to team up with us because, guys, none of the people at these places pay a penny to do it. Hundreds, thousands of people, actually, men and women, that we're going to be helping with recovery, they don't pay for this. So all of you who were raising money and AA is supposed to be free, well, it is free for everybody that's getting it. But it does cost some money to put it on and to feed them, and the Salvation Army has to house them and all of this. So we're going to launch on a fundraising effort together, which we're so excited about. Atticus Fiery is going to be flying into New York City in 2 weeks, and we're going to do kind of a road show, highlighting the partnership and incentivizing some people that we know will be very interested to join this movement, especially with the size of it at this point. He's going to speak at the New Canaan Society meeting, which is a Christian businessmen's association in New York City. I got him a speaking spot. And then at the end of January, we're going to be down in Florida doing a kind of a fundraising lunch where we'll be talking to Florida legislators who are also very interested in helping us get into places like prisons, where they say the recidivism rate and the amount of addiction is so high, they're willing to do anything. Not that we're anything, but we're kind of nimble, flexible, easy to put into the system. They want to try it. So much, guys. Just what we all thought would happen, I think. I did. Yeah. I didn't know how, but I've always known that this mission, this movement, was going to have a much larger impact than what we were having. And 2025 is going to be by far the biggest year in that. We'll reach more people in 2025 than we've done maybe in 4 or 5 years before, because of our ability to get access to this large amount. So I'm excited.
That is amazing.
I'm going to take tonight and tomorrow off, but starting Thursday, guys, the team and Alicia and Elisa and Casera and the team and some of the behind the scenes, we're kind of on, but everybody's so excited. I just pinch myself, but that's what we're doing.
So my mentor and good friend and co-host Chris S. The guy, he has far reach within Alcoholics Anonymous. He said, you got to put me in touch with Tom. He said, you think he would speak at the Atlantic, what is it? It's the huge treatment center that was all part of early AA and so forth, in Founders Day and all that kind of thing. So I got to put you in touch with Chris. But tell the listeners about the virtual retreat coming up, and how they can sign up for that if they want.
Right. So we are doing a virtual retreat, guys. We started the virtual retreats during the pandemic, and we didn't have any idea whether it would work. Nobody knew how Zoom was going to work during the pandemic, but we did, and we had some great success. So we do run one a year. We're looking to do more, but the one this year, our New Year's virtual retreat, is the 10th and 11th of January. It's Friday afternoon and Saturday. you can go to cametobelieverecovery.org to register. There's a small fee just to cover the expenses behind the scenes. And come in here, Monty teach a step.
2 steps.
Monty's teaching 2 steps. Oh, I am too, but that's not
You
hard
are.
to hear.
I'm
me.
not teaching, but I'll be in there. I'm going to
You
lead.
won't hear
I think,
Alicia
but
teaching, but
I'm
you
not
might, if you're
teaching.
a female in a group, you might get her as your leader.
Exciting stuff.
It's great,
And you can go through the steps in 2
Right.
days.
Yeah,
That's
and it's
amazing.
for you guys listening that are listening from all over the world. There are people from all over the world. It's a perfect opportunity for you listeners in far off places to come and get an experience
Yes.
of what we're doing.
And you can stay in your pajamas the whole time.
Yeah, right?
That's the best part.
I need a gnome costume. That's what I need.
No, you don't.
Printed hat.
No, you don't.
Gnome costume.
No, guys.
So go to cametobelieverecovery.org and they can just click on the upcoming retreats link, right?
Yep,
and they can register
absolutely.
the virtual retreat by doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. All right. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, the topic, we're going to be doing a couple things. We're going to be talking about resolutions and because it's New Year's and all that kind of stuff. Kind of continuing the discussion that Roger McDermott and I had on a Monday show. And we're also going to be talking about responses versus reactions, which was a topic that a listener wrote in and wanted us to address. So don't go away. We'll be back right after this. Hey, it's the Monty Man, and I would like to talk to you about something that is very dear to my heart. Take 12 Recovery Radio is proud to join Fox News, Home Depot, GMC, and many others in the media support of Tunnel to Towers. As we bring awareness through our podcast, we hope you will take a few minutes after our show to visit T2T.org to see for yourself the impact Tunnel for Towers is having on the lives of first responders, veterans, and their families. So many of those who fight for our freedom and well-being as Americans have lost so much, and many have paid the ultimate price, leaving their families and loved ones in dire need of our help. Your tax-deductible donation of just $11 a month will make a difference in the lives of those men and women who have put our country ahead of their own needs to ensure our freedom. Won't you consider donating today? Visit T2T.org and join me and Take 12 Recovery Radio as we support this vital work. Thank you for your consideration. God bless, and may you have an incredible 2025.
Walking through fire, scars on my soul, searching for answers in the endless hole. Came to believe in a moment of grace, found the truth staring back in my face.
This is Dan Clark from Milwaukee, Oregon. You're listening to the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast, a production of Take 12 Recovery Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Battling the fright, steps 10, 11, 12 showed me a way. Found my redemption in the light of day. We do recover.
All right, welcome back to the show. You've tuned into the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. This week's topic is responses versus reactions. Inspired by an email that we received from a listener asking us to talk about the difference between responding to a situation or a person versus reacting to a situation or a person. We're also going to be talking about New Year's resolutions. What do you want to tackle first, guys?
Well, wait, I want to tell you. Well, I have to tell you about my Tunnels to Towers experience really quick.
Oh, yeah.
You had that thing. So Tunnels to Towers is a run in New York City where we run through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, and I've done it several times. My sister actually did the first one that they ever ran.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of the most moving events if you're a runner and you're a person in the city, because the firefighters and things line the tunnel with flags and things, all the different firefighter So you just can't. It's amazing. Firefighters run with their gear on. They replicate, because these Steven Stiller, I guess Stiller, yeah.
Right.
The whole idea is he ran through the tunnel with his gear on to the tower.
Yeah.
That's where the run came from, and then ended up dying in it. But it wasn't the first year we ran it, but the second, or it was the third year that we ran it. My sister lives in Brooklyn, so we stage at her house, and then we walk over to the entrance to the tunnel. It's from Brooklyn into Manhattan. And then you run to the site. We were running to where they started it the year before. So there was these funneling into the tunnel, and they do it by heats of people. And they started, instead of doing it by heats, they just do what they call a mass start. So the problem with you gutting into the tunnel is your time is really slow. If you're within a few minutes, you're almost walking. 25,000 people in the tunnel. It's not a tunnel to make your best time. So my sister and I, being big runners, her bigger than me and me big at the time, and this is 8 or 10 years ago now, we ran a 5-miler over the Manhattan Bridge and over the Brooklyn Bridge the morning before. It was like 7 miles, I think we ran hard, because we said the tunnels to towers won't be a big run. It's just going to be an event because we know how crowded it is, but we're going to do it. But we wanted to get a run in. So we did this big long run, 2 of us, crushed us. And we go to tunnels to towers, and they had moved the starting point. So we went to this place in the roads, and there was nobody there. And we're like, where's the start? And some of the event people that were around were going, you got to go up there. You got to go up there. Well, we ended up running up to the front of the race, if you want to know what I mean. We came from the front, where the front line was, instead of coming up. So we thought we'd be way back in the pack. It turns out we walked right up to the starting line, turned around, and we're standing in the front.
Oh, my goodness.
I looked at my sister and I said, well, so much for just an event. Like, the first few people can run. Like, we're going to be able to run.
Wow.
And I looked at her and I said, so what do we do? I guess we go for it. So we mustered it up, and we took off running. And we're not super fast, but I was running 7-minute pace those days, especially a 3-minute mile.
Yeah.
A 3-mile run. And so we took off through the tunnel, and it spread out quickly. And in 3 miles, it's not that very far. And I remember coming out of the tunnel, and like Mayor Giuliani and people, like, we were so dispersed because we were so far out front.
Right.
You were almost running alone, and people, the whole cheering, were cheering for like just us too. You know, there was no one close.
Right.
I still remember it as one of the most inspiring days ever, because everybody was like cheering. We were way out front. I don't know what our times were, but they were pretty good times. We weren't the first, but we were out front. So that's my Tunnels to Towers story.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, you know, I've been following T2T for a while, and I just felt a heavy conviction that Take 12 Recovery Radio needed to be supportive of this thing, you know, and
good thing.
So I contacted them and let them know what we wanted to do, and of course, you know, everything was a go. It's $11. Oh my gosh! I mean,
And that at Starbucks, right?
yeah.
Hey, sometimes.
I mean, $11 a month is nothing. It's nothing, but it makes such a huge impact, and I'm just totally behind it. Totally behind it. So that just sounds like an amazing experience, Tom. That is really very, very, very cool.
Let's start with the topic first, I think.
Responses versus reactions.
And then finish with goals and aspirations and blah, blah.
Okay. So I think probably, more than likely, the person that emailed us in is probably we've all probably had some experiences of, you know, reacting to a situation in a way that probably wasn't real complimentary to our personalities or who we really want to be, when we should have probably been responding to it, right? And so there's a difference. So what's the difference?
So responding is definitely the more emotionally mature, aware aspect of communication. When you're communicating with someone, it's the more productive. It's the more would lead to a resolution or a
It takes
maybe
thought, right?
yeah,
It's not automatic.
right, and
Wow.
a
Instinctual, it's
compromise
thoughtful.
or a right, and a rending. Let's see here. I found a good definition. So, what's a reaction, and what's the difference? Right? Some people are like, "What do you mean?" I think most people, especially emotionally unaware, selfish and self-centered in themselves, react. It's always about protection. It's always about don't blame me. It's always about drawing a line in the sand. It's always about making sure that, we manage our prides and ego.
Yeah.
But it says a reaction is a quick and instant action towards a stimulus. It does not involve an evaluation of action or its impact before the action is done. It's driven by emotions, on autopilot, without a filter, and it can often have a negative outcome. They're defense mechanisms established from past experiences. So that's interesting, right? We can talk more about that. Now, what's a response? A response is preceded by concrete thinking and thorough evaluation of the stimulus and the impact of the action. The mind is calm, helps to comprehend the incoming stimulus, and presents the response after consulting the conscious and unconscious mind. It involves thinking about the consequences and the people. The habit of responding is not instinctive. It has to be inculcated. Well, there's a word, guys. Inculcated. I'm going to use
It
that
needs
word.
to become a habit. It needs to be practiced over and
discipline,
over and
right?
over.
Right. Responses become a default behavior when the individual has self-awareness, self-regulation, mindfulness, empathy, and good social skills. Oh boy, what does that person sound like? Working 10, 11, and 12
Step
as a person
10,
like
Oh,
that.
certainly.
How many people do we know that do anything
Don't
like
do
that?
it.
Right?
Well,
And how many times do we not do it?
So I'm gonna quote something from the Big Book here, and this is not to say that we don't stand for what's right. We do, and we talked about that. Roger and I were talking about this earlier this week. That when we get to that point in the Big Book where it says we cease fighting anything or anyone, including alcohol, we can properly take that out of context and apply it to all sorts of things in a positive way, right? And so it doesn't mean we don't take a stand. It doesn't mean we don't have boundaries and that we don't have opinions about things, but it means we're not fighting anymore. We're not fisticuff about it. This is my right to be right and all that kind of stuff. It's like, who cares? And I feel like particularly when we're talking about moving into this new year of 2025, I asked Roger, I said, do you feel like the country has come to a place of a kind of a, it's like, finally, and he said, yeah, I think so. And I think it's that we're tired of fighting, but some people aren't. Some people, I remember when I was not done fighting. You know what I mean? Anything and anybody. You would share your opinion about something, and even if I agreed with you, I would find opposition to it, just so I could argue. Have you ever met people like that? I have. No matter what you say, they've got to come back with bigger, better, more right. You know what I mean?
What if you are right?
Yeah, well, you can be right,
Usually
but it
I
doesn't mean
am
you
right. So I
But
just
it doesn't
don't
mean
say
you have
anything.
to engage in warfare, verbal warfare over it.
True. I can respond rather than react to
Look at her
their
face.
stupidness.
No one to do. This is where you
All
guys have
their
to watch the video,
resolutions
right? You
that
have
they're
to watch
not
the
going to do.
video. See, she's already now judgment. We got to do judgment versus whatever.
But it's true. That's the thing.
Judgment
So
versus
let's read.
justice.
There's this wonderful tool here, and I'm reading down, and it does say, and I would agree with this. This is not like brand new, earth-shattering information. That to make better decisions and a concrete, positive response through your actions is always preferred. So, is a reaction? We'll talk about this in a minute. Are reactions ever okay? Is there ever a time when a reaction is the right thing to do? Probably, but they're like
in
fight or flight
emergencies.
stuff.
Yeah.
But fight or flight stuff. And sometimes, I'll give a good example in a minute, but of what I think I don't, when I should react and I don't. So here's a nice tool that I found called Practice the Place Skill. Place, Place. Right, it's an acronym. Pause, label the emotion, ask why, choose a mindful response, empower yourself. What does that sound like, guys?
10.
Sound a little like 10 and 11?
Yeah. Sounds like an inventory wrapped up in 10 and 11.
Right,
But then
doesn't
what
it?
about people, and I have them in my life, sponsees.
She's making a
Let's
list,
say-
checking it twice.
I don't have to, what do you mean? It's just automatic. I just see the food and I just eat it. That's what they say to me. Like, you made the choice to put it in your mouth. You need to practice pausing.
Did they though? If we're, I get what you're
It's
saying,
not automatic. It's not.
but if we're talking about, it's a lot easier to say this about narcotic abuse or alcohol abuse when we know that a person's powerless. I could no more not pick up that drink than turn myself into a rock. You know what I mean? I was being, what the big book said, I was being driven. I had lost the power and choice. Can a person, I don't want to go down a rabbit trail, but probably will. Can a person lose the power and choice over picking up that donut? If they're a food addict, they can, right? Can't they, Alicia?
If they're addicted to sugar, it's just as hard.
Yeah, no,
Because you
it
could
is.
say
Look at
that
our
to the
world.
alcoholic too. What do you mean? Don't pick it up. Well, we can't. It signifies the relief I need, the feeling I get. I don't care about the consequences, or I can't do anything about them, or I feel powerless over them. Yeah, I think it's the same thing. You got it, Monty.
Yeah.
And-
Well, comes a point then after you do the steps where you
There
have
you
to.
go.
So
All
what's
right, now
the
here's the problem or the complication with it that I see, that I think Alicia's really talking about. So abstinence is what we do with alcohol and drugs, right? So we don't need them to survive. So
Right.
we can, as part of our program, abstinence is the thing. We don't need them. But food, you
We
do
don't need
have to have
sugar.
food to survive. So
Sure.
there is some level of being engaged with it beyond what we are ever engaged with alcohol after a drug.
Yeah.
After
The relationship to food is totally, it's different.
Yeah, it's
because you
different,
have
yeah.
to have it.
So, these, I think, that have been through the steps or been through the programs and then, want the excuse of, well, the donut was just there. Well, but once we've been through the step, the alcohol was just there when we go certain places and we
Right.
don't go to it. So I think
Right.
that's where you're going, right, Alicia? I mean, we should have the power now that a donut doesn't have any more power and once you're recovered than the glass of whiskey in front of you that you don't pick up anymore. Right? So see, we're turning around, backing you up now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Because now you have where you once were powerless. Now you have the ability to tap into a power. So people say, "Well, I'll always be powerless." Really?
Yeah. No, you have the defense against the donut. Get that
Yes.
defense. That's a new one you should use, Alicia. We're going to give you a defense against the donut. Because you're defenseless against that first drink, it says, right? That's what we need. We need a defense against the first drink. The defense against that first donut.
And it's not a bowl of ice cream.
And it's not right. It's not a bowl of ice cream.
He said no.
So, but I have had some instances where I probably should have reacted, where somebody said or did something to me somewhere. I was out and I didn't react. I sat back and went, well, I don't know. And I thought later, well, I should have just stopped that right then. And it would have been not a aggressive, negative impact reaction, but it would have been a, no, I'm not doing that. I would say out in a restaurant or out somewhere and somebody cuts in line on you and where sometimes I would say, oh, I'm not going to make a stink. Well, my first reaction is, hey, wait a minute. you're in line there. Get behind us. I think in some of those situations, a quick reaction. So measuring what it is, having
Well, but that could be a response. That could be a response also, because a reaction would be like pushing him out and F you, get out of the line. But you're thinking about it and you can respond to him or her rather than react and say, oh, did you realize that the line starts back there? That's more of a response, isn't it?
Well, that's a
so are the lines kind of blurred in a good way? Then, if you hone your skills in responding, then you can maybe have some appropriate reactions.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just thinking. So in law enforcement, they teach officers how to react, in a way that is going to bring the best outcome. For the victim, for the criminal, for the officer, right? It's got to be a quick reaction. It's got to be immediate. There's no time to think. They don't have time. So they have to be trained in that to know how to react in a proper way very, very quickly. And not everybody can do that. And I'm wondering if it's just a matter of learning how to be a person of response rather than reaction, and then when you do react, it comes across better.
In the military too, you have to react. I remember you a little white smoke, that gas mask's on. You don't think about it. You don't do anything. That kind of thing. And
it's why they use live rounds in boot camp, right?
Yeah.
You have to learn not to stand up when you're supposed to be on your belly.
Right. In a moment's second. It's got to be an immediate reaction, but those are people.
Right.
So I think that.
But we're talking about normal people.
Well, we're talking about somebody.
They don't need to worry about that.
Telling you, I wish you, that you do this all the time when you do this, and I do this because you. I mean,
that's
and
a red
I
flag.
have found that when I am told, you always do this. Why do you always do this? Sometimes my first reaction is to find something they always do to defend myself immediately.
Right.
Well, I mean, you always do that.
You're going to deflect.
You always do that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I would say if I said I may be doing that, but right now we're not talking about that. We're talking about the things you do.
Yeah, that's right. I do that all the time. We're not talking about me right now. We're talking about you.
But I now make an effort to say, okay, wait a minute though, because we're not perfect, but when someone says to me, you always do this, I pause, I think about it, and I go, let me listen to what was just said.
Yeah.
And are they right? And why do I have a trigger push that I have to defend? Just what that thing says. It's a step 10, really. Mm-hmm. And let me just respond to it. And then, remember it later so I can just nail them later when I have something else. And what ends up happening is I'm not demeaned. I don't feel less. The person hasn't gotten power over me. I maybe have grown. But that's a maturity thing, guys. It's a maturity thing because immediately, especially if you're in a relationship with a friend or a coworker or somebody where there's always a power struggle, or there shouldn't be, but there is. It's the power struggle. So,
I think this is where emotional sobriety comes in. I mean,
totally.
Because when we're emotionally dependent on the way other people think, say, feel about us, or what we think they should or how they should, and when we're dependent on that, then we get knocked off our emotional center pretty easy. And then what do we do when we're knocked off that thing? We go back to what we know. Which may be a reaction, or it may be the bottle, or it may be sugar, or whatever, but when you're emotionally sober, it doesn't mean what the other person said doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean that they may be wrong. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're not right or wrong. What it means is it doesn't knock you off. People think that when we say, well, you got to grow up and be more, but we mean that it doesn't hurt anymore. No, that isn't what we're saying. What we're saying is we don't have to fight about it. We can allow ourselves to feel the pain of the insult or the person's accusation or whatever. We need to learn how to feel that without falling over. Can we take the punch in the gut without collapsing? And I think emotional sobriety gives us the ability to do that. And, with the help of God, it doesn't wipe us out. And
almost every time that I react, it's wrong.
Do you regret it?
I regret it. It's my,
yeah.
I go back and go, that was so selfish and self-centered.
But then you make amends, right? And
I will go back
fine.
and make amends, but I feel like I'm backing up the, definitions that say that the response, like in this stage, a reaction in these contexts that we're talking about, in my case, 9 out of 10, it's the wrong thing, and I have to go back. And it comes from a selfish, self-centered place, and it comes off poorly, and it's hurtful, and it's a jab at somebody or something.
Which comes from fear much of the time,
It's
right?
fear.
We're
It's- yeah.
afraid of not being in
Or
control.
pride.
Yeah,
or
pride. I let an ego
justification.
thing in. I made a mistake, though. I didn't take the nature back. I just made a mistake. And
Yeah. One of the things that I would hear when I was working in the treatment field, I'd hear a client or a beneficiary or whatever say, "I'm a grown adult. I don't need to be told what to do by you people. I'm a grown man." It's like, okay, what are you doing in treatment?
That's why you're homeless.
Yeah.
Everybody
Oh, my
needs
goodness.
direction.
I get some. There's some people in my business, and we should all have this, mentors and coaches and
Yeah.
in business. And I have a couple, and a couple of them are harsher than others. And I don't even always agree with the coaching that I'm getting, because some of it is a carrot and stick coaching. That whole just do it. They know you can't do it, but they're just pushing at you anyway to get the reaction. And I sit and listen. And in less mature days, I would have gone into that fight fisting, one after the other, defense, get a defensive posture and go. And now I'll kind of field it and take it and listen and ask questions. And I have recently at the end of these things have said things like, "So this was great today. I know I learned a lot. I got to tell you though, I feel pretty beat up. And let me tell you why I feel beat up. I feel like this was, and I'll talk about how it made me feel without it being judgment. It's just when
good. Yeah,
this
I
is
like
how
that.
this
Really
happens.
good.
And I just feel kind of beat up today about all this. And I know that a lot of this was done all in great intention, but just, it was tough for me. And that's all I'll say. That was kind of tough.
That's
but
really good. Because people can't read our minds, and sometimes
Right.
we need to speak up, right?
Right.
They don't know.
Right. And I didn't defend anything. All I said was it was
Yeah.
tough. That was tough on me today. And,
Yeah.
that was a tough one. And
You
then
didn't say you made me feel.
I did. Yep. I said that
You
was
just
a tough
talked
one.
about how you felt.
I felt beat up. And often that solicits, well, of course we don't, there's all this good, but we have to focus on the stuff that has to be improved on. And then I would say, well, I get, and I totally understand that. I said, just, there is some good going on too, right? A lot of good. And we end up having almost a better conversation at that point,
Yeah.
Maybe I end up coaching them a little on how to do it. I don't know.
I think especially as guys, and Alicia, see if you agree with this. Well, not to throw your hubby under the bus or anything, but just as an example, as being the voice of reason on this podcast between Tom and I. When guys will listen to their spouses or their significant other or whatever, and when they come to us with something that is disturbing them, and we immediately think they're doing it because they want us to fix it. And no, sometimes they just want to vent, and they want us to be able to look at them and say, wow, that must have been really hard for you, instead of trying to fix it, right?
Timothy and I, my husband, we talk about this all the time, and I am not the typical woman. I want to be fixed.
Oh, you want
Tell
to be
me what
fixed.
to do.
Okay.
and I'm going to do it. Don't just
Okay,
listen.
well, Tom and I will be right over.
Yes. No, I love it.
Well,
I will fix it.
That's
I
a
will do
great
it.
thing to bring up about this response and reaction, Monty. Actually, that was great. I'm not anymore because I think this through and respond. I don't do that anymore. I don't fix. I will say, first of all, empathy. I empathize right away. Wow, that sounds terrible. Tell me more about that. Always ask for more. Tell me more about that. And no judgment, no fix, no more.
That's
And
good.
what I will say sometimes now, because some women want to fix too, and or your friends want to fix too. I will often, not often, but sometimes say, I need to tell you something and I want to vent about it. I don't want you to fix it. I don't need the answer to it today. I just need to tell you what this is.
Yeah.
I have asked that question too. Do you want an answer? Do you want me to help you with this? Or is it just, or do you just, what do you want me? But guys, and anybody listening, boy, does it take intention. Does it take maturity? Does it take thoughtfulness to get to a place where you can really communicate this way? It's a communication, but our STEP program, the STEP program of the founders, gives us a set of tools that will, if you practice them, it will lead you in the ability to communicate this way more and more and more. Do you guys agree?
I do. But
I do.
The thing you said was if you practice them. That's the thing. We'll give you the tools. They're just hanging on the wall. Pick it up and use it.
Right.
And
Yeah, so
sometimes it's the hammer and sometimes it's the thing, and you need to learn to use them.
I had a gentleman call me yesterday who had like 13 years, 18 years, clean and sober, let's say 13 years, right? And something happened that was very traumatic, and he had a relapse, and he's been without a sponsor. His sponsor passed away a number of years ago. And he called me up and he says, I need a sponsor. And I was listening to him, and what I realized, and I said, yes, I'd meet with him. I'm going to be meeting with him this afternoon. But what he really needs is to jump back into 10, 11, and 12. He's fully aware of 1 through 9. I mean, he may have some amends to make here, but 10, 11, and 12 is where he needs to live. That's where he needs to live. He recognizes he's powerless. He recognizes who God is. He recognizes all that stuff. Now he needs to apply and implement it by living out in 10, 11, and 12. I don't think it's necessarily necessary for us to go all the way back to step 1, except for maybe to make sure he knows what's going on here. But it's just another prime example of what happens when people stop applying 10, 11, and 12 in their life. Which is a pretty simple, before I go to bed, I ask God to show me where I screwed up. When I wake up, I ask him to be the leader of my day. And then I carry the message to other people. And
it's, they don't promise it.
Simple.
Yeah, they don't. The Pounders didn't promise it, and neither do we. What we don't promise is a state of recovery, a state of well-maintained spiritual condition if you don't work 10, 11, and 12. And that could put you in a position to be susceptible to engaging in whatever that was.
it was a reaction.
It's a reaction.
We reacted.
You lose your defense. You can maintain. Other people say, well, that's why you're always recovering. No, I disagree. It's not semantics. I disagree. You can be in a state of being recovered, which means you are not being all those what do you call it? The symptoms are gone, are relieved. You don't have the symptoms. You're not fighting them. But if you stop doing 10, 11, and 12 and fall out of a recovered state and start falling into all these symptoms again and engaging in them, well, absolutely, then you could go. It's just like if you don't have pneumonia or you get your diabetes handled and it's completely gone, and then you start eating sugar again, well, you could get it again.
Exactly.
It's very simple. Yeah,
Well,
I
if
agree
the
with you, Monty.
symptoms
I
are
totally
coming-
agree.
If things are happening and all the symptoms are coming back, then they're not doing step 10,
It's true.
right? So we
I
have
agree.
to do
I agree.
the tools. That's like people with years and years say, "Oh, I know the big book frontwards and backwards and 2 languages, and I know all the steps, and I know all this." I don't care. Are you doing it? I don't care what you know.
I love that too. I'm good. My big book study. I'm like, okay, that's good, I guess. But what the program tells you to do is practice 10, 11, and 12 for your sobriety. It doesn't say continue to study the big book forever. I mean, it's not a bad thing to do.
No.
But the same with Bible studies. People that got to go to Bible studies all the time thinking that this activity of sitting through reading the Bible is enough and not acting on what it is.
Right.
And I always get beat up. You don't know that they're doing that. Well, I've been around long enough. A lot of people are.
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
It's like reading the instructions to the swing set and then sitting there and looking at the parts and wondering why it doesn't put itself together.
Right. I mean, well, I love that. Once you read the instructions on how to do something, you do it.
You do
I mean,
it.
you don't have to. All right, let's
Guys,
talk about resolutions a little bit. Let's talk. Because although I love this reaction responses, I think this is really
it is good. It is good. Thank you for your email to the listener that sent that in. Okay, so on Monday's Take 12 Recovery Radio show with Roger McDermott, who is also Roger is also part of Came to Believe Recovery. We asked the question, are you making any New Year's resolutions? If you are, what are they? And if not, why not? And the first response we got was from our good friend Dale Barker. And this is what he said. No resolutions necessary for those living one day at a time. And I thought, I immediately reacted. When I read it, I was like,
You didn't respond. You reacted.
But
it's
isn't
true.
he right? Isn't he right? If we're living one day at a time, and I don't mean just because of the little slogan one day at a time, but living in 10, 11, and 12, then do we need to make resolutions? Maybe not. But are resolutions bad? Is it bad to hit the restart button? Is it a bad thing to make new goals and find a launching pad for that called January 1? What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
I'm with you, Monty. I think people take it as a time. I even think it could be an incentive. That's something you've been procrastinating. You could be living one day at a time, things going good, doing your 10, 11, and 12. But we're not proactively engaged in certain beneficial things in our lives all the time. We may, and they may not be hurting us, but we have decided, one of my New Year's resolutions is going to be to vary workouts, is to install new. Now, I've been working out all the time, and I could have done this anytime. But I'm choosing, this is just a moment in time. So was I not living day at a time? I was. But I'm going to make a concerted resolution now to do this. That's one of the things I'm going to do. Now, so yes, I think he's right. But also, I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody deciding that at some point they're going to make an effort towards some specific thing that they want to do better at, and they choose January 1 to do it.
Can it be also, though, let's look at the other side of the coin. Can a New Year's resolution that is made before New Year's Day, like December 24th, I'm going to make a resolution on New Year's Day to quit smoking. On New Year's Day, I'm going to quit smoking. My question then is, well, why don't you quit today?
Exactly.
Why don't you quit today? Is this an excuse to continue until January 1?
Yes.
And then they put the cigarette out as they stand at the base of the ball in Times Square. They drop the cigarette. There's my last one. Okay, give me your pack that you got in your pocket. Well, I'm not going to waste my money.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
It depends on the person.
It's the point that if you think that the day is going to help you do it,
then you're, right.
Where, I can't do it now. What's different than today than then for that kind of thing? I'm with you. You're setting yourself up potentially but dry January is a big thing that people do. They do. They do Dry January. It's a month. But let's look
It's
at
World Carnivore Month
What?
also. It's World Carnivore Month, January.
Of course, you have to say
Go
that.
carnivore.
All right, here's a study. All right, I'm going to do. This is a recent study. That was. We don't have the one for 24 to 25 yet. We have the 23 to 24, of course.
Okay.
62% of people, and this is from Forbes, so it must be real, right? I don't know. 62% said they feel pressured to set a New Year's resolution. Women feel slightly more pressured than men. Now, what do you think the number one resolution is?
Lose weight.
Lose weight.
Improve fitness.
Yeah.
48% of people say improving fitness was top priority. 36% improved mental health. And 55% say physical and mental health are equally important. 48% believe improved fitness is more important than improved finances. Wow.
Interesting.
And weight loss is 34%. Improved diet, 32%. But improved fitness is top, 48%. I guess that means going to the gym.
That tells me that most people are not happy with their physical bod.
Seeing what is that about? Let's go down that road,
Which
right?
needs to be food related because exercise is not going to do it. They need to change their food to get the results from the gym. You can't exercise away a bad diet. You just can't.
That's like trying to polish up the flesh.
Yeah. You just can't.
Yeah.
20% of respondents say they would keep themselves accountable when it comes to sticking to their goals, I guess, resolution. So this study says it's a massive drop from the year before, I guess, 2022, when 77% said they'd keep themselves accountable. That's a big drop. Maybe there's people realizing I didn't do what I said. I'm going to be careful to not. 80% feel confident in their ability to reach the goals, and only 6% lack it. So most people that go into this think they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, but 99% of them don't. Do they have that stat?
Well, do you think it's that bad?
I do.
64% will have fallen off within the first 2 months. That's what this says.
I'm probably 99 by 4 or 5 months later.
Wow, you're doom and gloom.
Sorry, but I think it's true.
So listen to this, Tom. Listen
All right.
to this. This was a definition. This was a dictionary one of the definitions of resolution. I'd never heard this before. The act of analyzing a complex notion into a simpler one. In other words, thinking about something that in a complex way, making it more than what it really is and turning it back into something simpler. And I think
If they did that, then they would be successful.
then they
But
might be
people don't.
successful. You know, why, instead of making all these, because I did this when it came to weight, I made this chart for the year, put it on the wall, made all sorts of graphics. They got those
Those can work. I do
But
that.
they got little stick-on stars,
Yeah,
and
I
did all
have
this
it.
stuff. But what I was doing, though, kind of like Tom was saying about if you think the day of the year is going to be the thing that solves it, it won't. I was depending on the chart to do the work for me. Oh, well, I got a gold star on my chart. Yay. And then it was like, and so then when I would screw up, the chart it just was this evil thing. You know what I mean? It turned on me. It's kind of like depending on the steps to keep you sober instead of on the one the steps are pointing you to, God, right?
Or the meeting to keep you sober.
Or the
Instead of
meeting,
who-
or your
yeah.
pastor, or who your sponsor, or whatever. If we're dependent on the methods and not the method giver, then I don't think we're going to keep these resolutions. I don't think we're going to keep
any of this stuff. I have two. I have reached my weight goal of 220 because I'm already on the way doing that. It's just a continual. It's not actually a resolution. It's just I'm going to continue in this. I'm 20 pounds away from it, right? I used to be 100 pounds away from it. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is a life insurance savings account. My wife and I were talking about this. I said, we need to have life insurance. She goes, think about this. Why don't we open up a savings account and put the money that we would give the life insurance company into that so they don't get our money and we just continue to save that. And that will more than pay for the funeral and the cremation or whatever you do instead of giving somebody else some money. And I thought, what a concept, right? Mm-hmm. So those are I'm going to continue what I'm doing. And the new thing is we're opening up a savings account just for life insurance for the kids to be able to take care of us or whatever when that comes up. Those are doable. And I think the problem a lot of times is people set goals for themselves that just aren't realistic. They're not doable.
That's the thing too. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not specific. So if someone says, I want to lose weight, that doesn't mean anything.
What does that mean?
Right.
Yeah. How are you going to do it? How many macros of fat are you going to eat daily? And are you going to measure it? And are you looking at it? How are you going to know? Look at it every day. Weigh yourself every day. Get a body fat scan every month. How are you going to measure it? How are you going to know?
I have two also, Monty. One I'm doing already. One was no more than one Starbucks a week.
That's a good one because you can measure it. You know if you did it or not.
I've been doing it now for 4 or 5 months, and it's like a budgetary impact. I can live without the $11. It's a kind of a statement against it, and it's a financial thing. It's a lot of money for a fancy drink that is. So this year I'm saying to myself, it's a reflection point. How is that working for me? It's working great. I'm doing without it, and there's an actual positive outcome.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to do this fitness thing, and I'm going to expand this financial to just, which I've also started this too, is I have some debt that I don't want anymore, and I'm going to commit to make sure it's completely gone by the end of the year. I mean, I'm working on it already. Again, another one I'm already doing, but it's just I'm going to solidify that. It's working. It's a reflection time for me. Sounds like a little bit for you too, Monty, to say.
Sure.
These are things we've been doing. So in those respects, I think it's okay to do this. What about you, Alicia? What are you resolving?
I'm continuing also. I don't do resolutions because I just add on, but I do the calendar thing. I have consistency calendars. And I just put my new one up for 2025. Each month is a different thing. I have a goal for food, exercise, relationships, whatever. And then if I do it, it's not perfection. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for excellence. And to get a sticker, I do stickers it's full of stickers. And if I miss, it's fine. So sometimes I'll do a certain macro with fat, or I'll do dairy, no dairy, or I'll do dairy once a week. And so that's what I'm doing for January.
So your
and I'm excited.
relationship with the chart is a really good one. See, my relationship wasn't. It wasn't the chart's fault.
So let's look.
Yeah.
It was my fault.
I love the chart. It keeps me in line.
We're running out of time, but let's look at how long they last. Maybe you guys covered this too, Monty, the other day. But at least this Forbes poll says that the average resolution only lasts 3.74 months. 8% of goals last 1 month, 22% last 2, 22% last 3, and only 4 to 13% last 4. So when you're up at 6, between 5 months and the end of the year, it's less than 10% sticking to their goals. So that means 90% of everybody that makes a resolution does not keep it by the end of the year.
I told you. I said 99.
So going back to what Dale Barker said, no resolutions necessary for those living one day at a time. Do you perhaps if we lived our resolution that we made
one day at a
24 hours at a
time.
time, we wouldn't be looking so far ahead or so far more of a reflection in the past or whatever. And the days would pile up. It's like sobriety. Before you know it, you got a year. Before
It's
you
got
know
to be a
it,
lifestyle. You adapt it as a lifestyle.
So if you do it daily and just focus on that day, before you know it, right? You've lost the 20 pounds, or you're feeling better, or their bank account's got some more money in it. You go, wow, when did that happen? Because you just focused you lived in the moment. Maybe that would help a lot of people instead of trying to make these unreasonable go. Well, this year I'm going to lose 100 pounds. I'm going to lose 10 pounds a month, and I'm going to lose 100 pounds. Well, why don't you work on losing that 1 to 2 pounds a week for this week? Forget about 3 weeks from now.
Exactly.
I don't know. What do you think, Alicia?
No, I think you can have the big goal, but you need to look at, like I have a quote here that says, switch from outcome attachment to process improvement. What's your process? How are you going to get there? What are you eating? Are you measuring? Are you weighing every day? That's what we need to concentrate, not on I'm going to lose 100. Well, how are you doing it? Daily. What does that look like? And measure it. Are you doing it or not? Look at it every day. Did I do it? Yes or no?
Is that from Atomic Habits where the guy says, we're not going to train to run to win a race. We're going to train to run for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And the sports guy who said, we're not training to win the championship. We're training to play the game every day. You're training. So it's a different in mindset. So a resolution is, I'm going to do January 1 and I'm going to lose 20 pounds. What happens then? Has your mindset...
Right. You're still depressed and angry and miserable, but you're 20 pounds lighter.
You don't...
How's that working for you?
We need 2 or 3 weeks of shows for this.
We do. We are out of time, you guys. Closing thoughts. Alicia, you first.
Don't fall into the 90% that fail with their resolutions. Take baby steps. Measure every single day. Be specific. Don't say, I just want to be healthy. What does that look like? What are you eating exactly? What are you doing fitness-wise? Detailed and specific so you can see every day. Did you do it or not? And not so general, because general gets you nowhere.
Tom?
Yeah, improve your lifestyle. Make them lifestyle goals. Make them things that you have goals, but you intend it to be a new lifestyle. Have an identity in mind that you're working towards, that you're going to leave, that you're going to be adapting forever.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, we hope you all have a good brand new 2025. It's even hard to say that 2025. Holy moly. Our closing song is by Arrow Prayers. It's called New Year of Grace. And then I'll come back with my closing thoughts. Here's Arrow Prayers.
A new day is dawning. The old has gone. God's mercies awaken with each new dawn. Behold, he is doing a work brand new, making streams in the desert. His promise is true. Great is his faithfulness, morning by morning. Hope for tomorrow, his love never ending. Plans to give us a future so bright. In this new year of grace, we walk in his light. Through trials and shadows, his hand will guide. Each step of the journey, he's by our side. For we know the plans he has are good, a firm foundation where we've always stood. Great is his faithfulness, morning by morning. Hope for tomorrow, his love never ending. to give us a future so bright. In this new year of grace, we walk in His light. Through this trust in the Lord with all of our hearts. Lean not on our ways, let His path start. The old is behind us, the new has begun. We'll run the race till His kingdom dawns. Great is His faithfulness, morning by morning. Hope for tomorrow, His love never ending. Plans to give us a future so bright. In this new year of grace, we walk in His light. Great is His faithfulness, morning by morning. Hope for tomorrow, His love never ending. Plans to give us a future so bright. In this new year of grace, we walk in His light. Great is His faithfulness, morning by morning, by morning. For tomorrow, love never ends, love never ends. Plans to give us a future so bright. In this new year of grace, we walk in His light.
So, I suppose the question for us is simply this: how will we enter this new year? Will it be with regret for goals not reached, morbid reflection of falling short, or will we resolve to enter this new season of our life with a hope that is in our God, a reflection upon His promise to guide our path? The Lord's will for us is to prosper us, not to harm us. My prayer for each of us is that we look to His face, watch for His hand in all that we do, and rejoice in every day not promised, as we resolve to respond rather than react to the difficulties of life, the challenges of personalities, and the excitement of a new day each morning. It's something to think about. Came to Believe Recovery strives to create and promote opportunities for life-changing spiritual experiences for individuals and families suffering from all forms of addiction. For more information, help, and support, visit CameToBelieveRecovery.org. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be your host on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast. And I would encourage you to like, bookmark, and subscribe to this show. When you do, you will join the Take 12 Recovery Radio family and will be notified of all of our recovery-focused shows throughout the week. Until our next broadcast, when we provide the essential spiritual tools needed to thrive by sharing our experience, our strength, and our hope through our stories of how we came to believe.
This has been a production of Take 12 Recovery Radio.
Yeah, kitty, kitty, kitty. Meow.
Woof, woof.
This has been a Chicken and a Pig production.